Hey friend, we did our first part of this tree series, which was the summer vibe of the 4 different style of trees. And then I wanted to paint them all using more burnt colors, more autumn and fall colors. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you the same shapes of trees. We've got our cone shape, sphere shape, pyramid, pine tree, etc. And we're going to do the same type of techniques like dry brush, pushing, pulling, poking, but with autumn vibe in our trees. So if you're ready, let's do this. Okay, so for this next part of this tree series, we're going to be doing what we did in the first part, which was all summer vibe trees with our green and yellow, green rich leaves. We're going to be doing the same type of trees, but with autumn colors. So we're going to start with our scrubby one, our really dry brush where we're doing a lot of scrubby motion, starting with a darker color and getting lighter and lighter as we move down for a more column shaped tree. So I'm going to start with some Scarlet Lake on my size 2 brush. We used our size 2 for all of the trees in the summer series, so we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to grab Scarlet Lake, a touch of cadmium orange, and then a touch of burnt umber because I don't want it to be too vibrant. I want it to be kind of that deep autumn red color. It's kind of got a touch of brown in it. So I'm just bringing it over into an additional mixing well that does have some old pigment in it that I'm scooping up and mixing it into here, which is totally fine because I have my warm colors over here. If I were to put it in the blue area, it would kind of turn weird purple. So I'm starting with a really thick mixture of this dark red color. I'm going to dry off my brush a little bit on my paper towel before I move down. And then I'm just going to start with this oval or egg shape and kind of just bring it down. And the drier my brush is, the more texture I'm going to have, which gives it that fun, leafy look without having to try too hard. So I'm going to go about halfway down the tree. Then I'm going to grab a lot of water. So I'm flicking it off in my cup of water. And I'm just going to go over this middle section here and kind of blend in with this scrubbing motion. Then from here, I'm going to grab cadmium orange, a touch of Scarlet Lake, but just a little bit, and a touch of lemon yellow deep. And I'm going to do the same thing, starting in this middle section so it blends really nicely, but then moving downward, leaving in some gaps. And then I'm going to grab more lemon yellow deep, and get lighter with this autumn column tree. Not sure what type of tree it is. Let me know if you know what it is in the comments. Very bad at my trees. And from here, might add some pokes of yellow. In the red area. Then to add more depth or shadow to this tree, I'm going to grab that same dark red color that I started with at the top, and I'm just going to bring it down more on the right side because this is where the sun is shining for this particular tree. Just kind of fiddling around with it in these circular scrubbing motions. Might lighten the red as I move down. Just kind of blend the yellow and the orange with the red. Now burnt umber with a touch of Mars Black And we are going to use the side of my brush with a 35-ish degree angle and just kind of lightly bring in these branches. And then swipe with just water. Okay, then our next tree is a pyramid tree where we're stacking balls on top of each other. So we have one ball at the top, then two in the next row, then three. So I'm going to start with lemon yellow deep and a touch of cadmium orange on it. And then just like the last series we did with these more summer vibe trees, we're using a very wet brush for this tree. So we have a really smooth blend between all of our colors. And our spheres or our balls aren't perfectly circular. They're trees, obviously, so they've got some texture to it. So I'm just kind of using the belly of my brush and dragging it around and going back to my yellow and my water to make sure that this stays really wet. So I've got my yellow. I can still move it around so it's still really wet, and then I'm going to go back in, grab some cadmium orange, maybe a touch of opera rose, different vibe than our red, see how that looks. And shading on the right side. Blend it with these circular motions like we're scrubbing our teeth or scrubbing the floor. Shading each individual ball, so we've got a C curve on each ball to show that fluffy texture of this tree. And if it's looking really harsh, then just grab some water and blend it in with these circular motions. And then I'm going to kind of press my brush around the edge of the tree and give it this texture. Reminds me of Seattle in October. One of my favorite places. And then time for the trunk. Little Mars Black, some burnt umber. Use the side of the brush to pull down the trunk of the tree and extend with the tip of your brush. And go back with a little bit of black to darken the side of the tree, or the trunk. And swipe. Might even grab a touch of Opera Rose and Scarlet Lake. Show some fallen leaves on the floor. There we go. Now we've got our spear-shaped tree that kind of has its leaves pointing upward. We're gonna start with some cadmium orange and some Scarlet Lake that's really, really dry. So we're drying off our brush with the paper towel before we move on and start painting. We're starting near the end or the bottom of the trunk and just kind of scrubbing it along upwards. The drier the brush, the more texture you're going to have. Sometimes we have more water on our brush to show a further away or a fainter leaf section, and then we dot it with some orange. But all of these leaf sections on this tree are going to be pointing upward and then tapering to a more narrow tip of the tree. Maybe grabbing some yellow here and there. Going back over it with this burnt umber and red color.
This also doubles as a campfire.
It does double as a campfire. And then going back for our trunk. Just using the point of my brush to add in these little peaks of branches. Always thinking about connecting my branches back to my main trunk. Swipe. Okay, so for our final tree, I had to Google it because again, I'm not super knowledgeable with trees, I just paint them. I didn't know if pine trees change color or not, but I do remember when I was driving up in Seattle on Chuckanut Road, if you're a PNW person, you know what that is. There was these bright yellow and bright orange looking pine trees, and I think they're called Western larch trees. I'm not positive. You can Google it or let me know if you're a tree snob and let me know in the comments. So we're gonna do the same thing we did in part one for our pine tree, but again with different colors. I'm gonna start with a lot of lemon yellow deep. I want this like bright, vibrant yellow tree. So we're just gonna be using the belly of the brush with about a 45-degree angle. And I'm just kind of dotting it. Remember, these are kind of like stretching canopies. They're not pointing upward. They're mostly pointing down or maybe just across. And then I'm gonna drag it up with some water. And we start to taper, gradually taper as we move up. Kind of getting close. And then we can grab some yellow ochre, slightly different vibe. Maybe a touch of burnt umber. It's a little dark, so I'm grabbing water and blending it in. Kind of this golden color. And the trunk. I'm gonna go back in with a little more yellow. There we go. And swipe. There you have it.
You want to do a part 3 winter trees?
Just trunks. There you go. I don't know about you guys, but this series makes me want to take a little drive up north in the PNW because I literally had my jaw on the floor the entire drive from Portland, on the coast, from Portland, whatever, to Seattle, up to Canada. I did this for my book tour for Everyday Watercolor back in 2018. And it was a lovely drive and I miss it very much. It was so nice. I actually even have this tree in my book, Everyday Watercolor. If you don't have it, we'll link it below so you can purchase it off Amazon or you can find it at your local bookstore, Barnes & Noble even. But make sure you check it out. There's a lot of other fun tutorials in that book, techniques, etc. So I hope you enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If there's other trees that you'd like for us to show you in a tutorial, drop it below, or any type of landscape vibe, whatever. Drop it below in the comments and I'll see you in the next video.